Welcome inside the Biscuits, Brews, and Ball podcast, episode number 8 on this beautiful March spring day. I believe it's the first day of spring, but man, it's nice outside. We just finished up basketball season here in high school basketball. Well, I guess we did finish up college basketball around here too. Yeah. Okay, but anyway, basketball season in high school, just finishing up with the state basketball tournament. So that got done yesterday. So today we've got a recap here on the show. And, of course, my name is Jack Withrow, and always joined by Brian England, but he is not here today. He's going to be via phone. But today we've got back in the studio the guru of basketball, Mr. Derek Ragle.
I don't know about guru.
Roogly Roog.
I love the game, so I'll take it.
I call you and Phil C. gurus of high school basketball.
Well, Phil knows his stuff, that's for sure.
I'm putting you up there in high regard.
I appreciate that.
But it is a beautiful day here in March. It is March the 20th of 2022. And again, this is the episode number 8 as we are here in the Generations Physical Therapy Studio here in Hurricane, West Virginia. 7 locations here around the area in Charleston, Nitro, Winfield, here in Taste Valley, Milton, Barbersville, and Grayson, Kentucky. You can check them out on their website, www.generationspt.com. And Derek, a long week, but a fun week.
Yeah, it was a great tournament. You know, some people had when we added the 4th class, there was a lot of concern about a lot of blowouts and there not being a lot of good teams down there. And we had a couple of those. Some games got out of hand, but for the most part, it was a pretty good week of games, in my opinion. So I enjoyed it, and we had the Fairmont and Shady game. When we can get into some of that stuff later, but it was really good. Morgantown, Parker South was really good, and the Logan Sky game. Those 3 games really stood out to me as being probably the top 3. But again, we can get into that stuff later. But a good week of basketball.
And even in the blowout games, we had, some very good talent on the floor.
Sure.
So it was enjoyable to watch that as well, even in the blowout games.
Yeah,
so.
Anytime you can watch teams like James Monroe and Morgantown, who had a couple of games that, were not so close. But when you can watch those teams in their element and run their stuff and show off their talents, it's nice to see.
Yeah. So we'll get into all this, all 4 classes. And we talked about this during the week over on Brandon Lowe's show and Ryan Pritt and those guys. We had their show up there every morning from 10 to noon and had a great time. Had a lot of people coming in, including Brian. But the question was always posed. You've probably been going to the tournament for several years now.
Yeah, 1999 and every year since. I may have missed some games or sessions, but I've been to every tournament since 1999. So
you've probably seen some memorable things. What stands out in your mind as one of the top things you've witnessed there at the tournament?
The very first game I went and saw was Parkersburg South against Beckley. And that year, Parkersburg South had 3 guys, Brian Crislip, who currently coaches Parkersburg High, and Josh Edmond and Ryan Hopkins. Those were their 3 players. They were really good. Brian Crislip ended up playing Division I, I think, at Niagara. And Ryan Hopkins, I think, went down to Florida Gulf Coast. I might have those mixed up. But anyway, those 2 definitely went and played Division I. And, of course, they were matched up in the first round. So this was when we weren't seeding the tournament. It was predetermined what region would be playing, which particular region. So they were playing Woodrow Wilson. It was led by Drew Smith, who I believe went to Georgia. Mike Ross was on that team. It was a little guard that ended up going to Eastern Michigan to play for Jim Boone, who's a Winfield native. And they had a couple other players. Kevin Harrington was a good player who was related to Al Harrington. Then you had, I think that's it. Those were the top 3 players for each team, and man, it was a battle. It was a war.
Yeah.
And just going to that game, and that being the first game I go see, first time I've ever gone. A friend of a buddy of mine, his dad got us out of school early, and we went up there to go watch it.
That was the best part.
Yeah, walking in and just seeing that, and for the first time ever. Growing up, we always went. My family, we would always go to the West Virginia Conference tournament. So like Concord, UC, State, Tech, Salem, all those schools. So that's what I got out of school for. And so this being the first time I ever got to go to that, I was like, wow, what an experience. And it was a great first game, and I was hooked. And I've always wanted to go since. I would always beg my mom, for the rest of the years I was in school to, hey, please let me out. Of course, I always was hoping that we'd be playing in it, but I wasn't fortunate enough when we played in high school to make it. But man, it was just awesome. And the following year in 2000, I remember seeing a great game in the semifinals. Tug Valley played Independence, and Independence was actually on that team was Ronnie Olson, who's currently the coach at Shady Spring.
Yeah. And
Tug Valley was led by a guy named Greg Davis. He was about a 5'8" guard that could shoot it basically as soon as he came across half court. He ended up going to Miami of Ohio. And Tug Valley was heavily favored. They beat a really good Wyoming's team in the first round. And Independence had a big guy that was about 6'6", 6'7", named Josh Allen, who coached some at AB. I believe he coached the girls some up there. And they put him on Greg Davis. And I was, at first I was like, well, what are they thinking here? But he was able to stay in front of him for the most part and also contest his shot. And with him being 5'8", it made it really difficult. But, it was such a great game. I think Independence ended up winning a very close one, and they went on and played Magnolia in the finals, who had Dave Tallman, who is currently the coach of Morgantown, on that team, coached by his dad, who's still the coach there at Magnolia. Magnolia ended up winning, and I think that was one of the years Magnolia had a double-digit losses and ended up winning the title. So that was a memorable tournament for me. But every tournament I can think back for the most part and think of games or things I saw or players that I liked. And like I said last week, it's just a great event, and to me, it's the best sporting event that takes place annually here in West Virginia.
Yeah.
And if you like sports, you need to go. I mean, for me, it's just walking in and seeing the guy selling the Zools, and get you a corn dog or popcorn or whatever, and just getting your program. I mean, just everything about it I love, and I hope I'm blessed enough to continue to go and hopefully coach in it again one day.
Yep. And you did coach in it.
Yeah, when I was an assistant coach at POCA, we went 3 straight years. The 2014 tournament, the 2015 tournament, we won it. We went undefeated and won it. In 2016, we got beat in the finals by Fairmont. So, it's a great experience, something I'll never forget, something I'm very thankful for. To have your name called, whether you're a player, coach, support staff, whatever. It's just a big honor, and it meant a lot to me, and it's something I'll never forget.
Yeah. Yeah. Fairmont State seems like they're there every year. So,
oh, my gosh. Dave Retton does such a good job.
Yeah, he does. But a couple of my most memorable, and they're not good either. Because, I went to South Charleston.
Okay.
And it's always the bridesmaid for us here at the state tournament. But it was back in 82 and 83. Back-to-back years, South Charleston loses in the state tournament by 1 point each game to, that was Logan and Stonewall.
Gay Elmore on one of those games?
Can't remember.
I think so.
He would.
I think he was in 81, 82, somewhere around there.
Yeah. So it was like Gary Thompson and maybe David Bradley and those
Gotcha.
guys.
I coached against David when I was coaching at John Adams.
Bill Walton was the coach, but I can remember going with my uncle, Gary, and he would take me, and I could just both years I'm with him, and he was in a wheelchair, so we were up around the concourse area both years, and so that's where we sat, and we sat in the same exact spot both years. But I can remember just my heart breaking both times.
Yeah, that would be tough.
So that is, it's engraved in my mind there. But also, there was when Hurricane made that run.
Yeah, those were some
That was
semifinal
unbelievable.
game against Hedgesville.
Hedgesville
And then
with
the
triple
final.
overtime.
Yeah, I mean, it was the late game. I
Yeah,
mean, it was an incredible atmosphere.
It was a Friday night.
Yeah.
Triple A.
Mm-hmm.
And
I think C.J. Burks was on that team that played at Marshall, if I remember correctly. And then they may have had a Peterson kid that ended up going to VMI on Hedgesville. So, they were good.
That was Hurricane, I think that's the year after they beat South Charleston in the opening round.
No, I think that's that same year. I believe. Yeah, it's that same year. They beat South Charleston first round, then they beat Hedgesville, and then lost to Huntington in the finals.
Yeah, and that went in overtime too.
Yes, I know it came down to the last shot, but I cannot remember if it was overtime or
Was
not.
it not? Okay,
but
maybe this all blends together.
Yeah. It was. That was another great game too.
I remember after that triple overtime victory over Hedgesville. I mean, it was well past midnight, and Lance and all those guys were in there in the press conference. And it was like so late, and then all he could think of, man, we got to go. We got to turn right around
and play tomorrow.
And play Huntington.
Yeah.
So
tough task.
I just remember being there for that, and that was just a wonderful run for Hurricane. So, but then you got people like O.J. Mayo when they played, and
that was a show.
Of course, South Charleston was
probably their best team maybe ever. I mean, you had Aaron Dobson, Perrier Henry was on that team, Tyler Harris, and they got to play two future NBA players.
So, I remember watching that one there, but there's a lot of memories and a lot of things. I mean, people go not just for the games, but to see old friends. And I know coaches, it's a great way to connect with coaches and maybe talk about, some future scheduling.
Sure.
So I know you guys take advantage of that.
That happens now. When you're putting your schedule together, most people's schedules are pretty much close to being done by now. And, you'd say, well, the season just ended. But, you go ahead and start getting those games ready now.
Yep.
You may need one or two at this point, but for the most part, your schedule is basically done. Some of that takes place at the state tournament, but like you said, you see people that you don't necessarily see anymore. I kind of touched on this a little bit last week, but that's one of the reasons why my dad really likes to go. My dad's getting up there in age, and he likes to go and see people that he hasn't seen in a long time. He played college football with Freddie Simon, who's the football coach at Bluefield. And I don't know if him and Freddie got a chance to hook up there at the state tournament this year or not, but those are the types of people that he likes to go and see. He's buddies with Bob Mullet, who's helps coach and direct the North-South football game. He sees him up there every year. And just, other people too. There's actually my parents sat their seats one year were next to this family from Jefferson. And they had a son that was in, I think, maybe middle school at the time or elementary school. And they just always made sure to run into each other up there at the state tournament. We're from Tays Valley Hurricane area, and they're from Jefferson. So we're never going to see each other outside of the state tournament.
Right.
And they always checked in, and, they like to go over and talk to them and see how everybody's doing. And Mom went over and talked to him this week. And their son, Spencer's already graduated, and he's in National Guard and doing all that. So it's just crazy that, you do that you do those kinds of things. We took my nephew up to one of the games this week, and he's made a friend with a boy that was his parents were from Braxton County, and they would go in between sessions and go play catch and in the downstairs, one of those larger hallways outside the parlors. So it's just a great event. And again, the people of West Virginia, we have the best people in the country, and so friendly, and just being able to go and see those people and talk and establish those relationships are just one of the many great things about that event.
Yeah, and the thing about it, for the 2 weeks, you get the girls tournament the first week, and then the boys tournament on the second week. But Brian had talked about this, and other people talk. We talked to Jim Hamrick up there.
Yep.
And other states around us, there's a little bit different format. They may have a tournament going on over here and a different class tournament over here.
Sure.
Girls are in Dayton, boys are at Ohio State.
Yep.
So, but this one brings everybody together, all four classes.
Right.
So it's unique.
Yeah.
So.
That I know Brian had mentioned before, we talked about in the past, North Carolina, I think we'll have one class at one site, let's say Raleigh, and then another class would maybe be in Greensboro or maybe in Charlotte or somewhere else. And, that I'm sure that's nice, but I like having all the teams there. I like getting to see at least every team play once if it's possible. It's a little bit harder now with the 4 days, but getting all those teams there at one site there's just something special about that.
Yep.
Kentucky, they are all at the one site, but it's one class, and I think only 16 teams make it to that final site, so that's a little bit different. I'm not sure how Ohio only takes 4 teams from their. I don't know how many classes they have, but I don't think anyone else is getting 32 teams to one site and having it play out over 1 week. It's a pretty cool thing, and other people I've talked to say that our event is one of the best around that have been to other ones. So I'll take their word for it.
Yeah. Before we get back, I want to step away from the state basketball tournament recap, but I was talking to Bill Gillespie, and he released the coaches for the North-South basketball games.
Okay, cool.
So that will be on June the 10th down at the South Charleston Rec Center. And I was trying to pull up his text again.
That's a great event too. I can remember going and watching Brett Nelson playing that, and Michael Jebbia, that coaches at Wheeling Park, they were in a tournament this week, and I remember going watch, and he went off in that game. I can't remember how many points he had, but he played a heck of a game in that game.
But that is the West Virginia Athletic Directors Association All-Star Classic. We call it the North-South, but
right.
Again, Friday, June the 10th, and this is the first time I've been told that the boys and the girls are coming together to play in this event.
That's awesome.
So for the girls, the North coaches are Ryan Young of Wheeling Park and Jason White of Morgantown. Of course, everybody knows Jason White is moving down to North Carolina and working down there. So this will sort of be his swan song here.
Yeah, he did a great job with that girls program.
Oh, my goodness.
Hate to see him go.
3 state titles right out of the blocks for Morgantown when he took over. And then the South for the girls will be George Washington's Jamie LeMasters and Nitro's Pat Jones.
Okay, I know. My assistant coach at Nitro, so I see Pat all the time. He does a good job too.
So, and on the boys' side, it'll be Jared West of Notre Dame and Mark Barnhart of St. Mary's. So, Mark Barnhart was just in the state tournament with his team. His son is phenomenal.
Yeah, I think he's going to Marietta to play.
Okay.
So, that's Marietta. I think just wasn't qualified for the Final Four of D3. Yep. So he's going to a good program. And
then on the other side for the South boys team will be Josh Daniel of South Charleston and Derek Brooks of Wyoming East.
Nice. Yeah, Josh will do a good job, and Derek Brooks he got his team in the tournament this year, and so that's a good duo there.
Yep. So that'll be fun. Again, on June the 10th down at the South Charleston Community Center. That's a Friday night. It'll be the West Virginia Athletic Directors Association All-Star Classic, or better known as the North-South Classic for girls and boys basketball. So, again, that will be fun. And getting back to the state tournament, 4 classes, second year.
Yep.
You like it?
Yeah. Me personally, this is just me. I'm not a representative of anything else or anything like that. I like the 4 classes.
Yep.
I like, again, a big basketball junkie like me. I get to see more teams, more basketball, more teams you get to see play, different styles, different players, and I liked it. I thought the games were competitive for the most part. Every tournament, every year has had blowouts. I don't care what format, what system we've used. Everyone has had blowouts, so you're going to have that. I thought for the most part the games were good, competitive games. It was a good thing overall. I think it's been a good thing so far. I assume it will continue. I don't see them going back to 3 classes. I see the 4 classes staying around for the foreseeable future. Now, what that means for other sports, I don't know, but we'll just keep this to basketball. I think so far it's been a good thing.
Yeah, I do too. And like you said, we get more basketball games. So, and we get more teams that may have not been able to make it, like we saw Union girls make it for the first time. So teams like that, gives them an opportunity to come down. So in that sense, I do like it. Mm-hmm. Of course, the hot topic is still, I think, in the regional and maybe sectional and the seedings for regionals. And everybody's got their opinion.
Right.
And we've talked about it here as well. But, let's hope they can tweak it. Just you know.
I mean, I don't know if what's going to happen with that. But
I don't. And we talked to Bernie.
Uh-huh.
I don't see a 1 through 16 seed
Right.
like we do for football.
Right.
So
I don't think they will ever go to a statewide ranking of just
because they want the regional representation at the state tournament.
So when what I touched on last week with my idea, that's why I kept a northern and southern region, so you still get regional representation, but you can kind of seed it a little bit better,
right?
Rather than just have designated sections, you could base it off of a northern and southern region and seed those teams 1 through however many teams are in those particular regions. But I don't know. We'll see. I just think that you punish some teams for being in certain areas. Again, Capital and South Charleston, prime example.
Yeah.
And I know there was one year when I was coaching at Poca, we had us, Nitro, and Winfield all in the same section, and all 3 of those teams were really good. And then the other section, they were loaded too. Logan had David Early, Chapmanville had Obina, and Drew Williamson, and Collins, and then you had Mingo Central, Jeremy Dillon, and Drew Hatfield. I mean, so could we have all 6 gotten to the state tournament? No, but we could have maybe got away to where 4 of us got there, and you still have a little bit more regional. You still have regional representation, but you get a better idea of what you get a better dose of the 4 teams from that area to the state tournament. But anyway,
talk for another day.
Yeah,
and we're not going to make that decision here anyway, so
right.
It doesn't matter. But let's take a quick break, and then we'll come back. We'll bring Brian England, who's out on the road today. He's going to call in, and we'll talk to him and get his thoughts about the state boys basketball tournament and his opinions on some things. When we come back, you're listening to the Biscuits, Brews, and Ball podcast. Inside the Biscuits, Brews, and Ball podcast, Jack Withrow alongside Derek Ragle. Ragle Woogs is in the studio again after a long week of the boys state basketball tournament, but a fun week.
Yep.
So everybody that I talked to up there had a great time. So, but now we're going to bring in Mr. Brian England on the road. What's up, B. England?
What's on? How are you guys doing?
We're doing well. I guess you were over in Cincinnati, travel soccer for your daughter.
That's just got done winning the Cincy Fall tournament and 2012 girls for West Virginia Football Club.
That's
and
awesome.
They did a good job.
Yeah,
won first place, and we're on our way back.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Bringing home hardware, are you?
Bringing home the hardware. Girls love the hardware.
Do they give out the rings?
Oh, we got medals.
Okay.
Good enough.
Yep, big old medals.
All right. Well, I know you were up at the boys state basketball tournament because I see you up there. But just your general thoughts of the week, the competition, and give me your thoughts on that 4-class system that we're in the second year of.
Right. I thought overall it was another successful year for the 4-class system.
And now he's gone.
Might have lost him.
Yeah. The old AA highway. Is that where he said he was?
Yeah. It'll get you. The signal's a little.
And
hey, you
overall,
just came back.
I think it.
Well, you were cutting out.
Can you hear me?
I can
We
now.
got you now.
Can you hear me, guys?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, I thought it was another.
Okay.
It's like that old, what is it, Sprint commercial?
Yeah. I cut him off. Anyway, well, we tried.
Yeah. Well, he gave it a thumbs up as well. So we got that much.
Maybe he'll call back.
Yeah, we'll see.
Maybe you can text him and he can call us back. We'll get him in here shortly. But let's take a look at each class. We'll do a little recap here of all 4 classes for the boys tournament. And Class Single A, the champions Mavericks of James Monroe. I thought, man, they look great.
Yeah, I'd watched a little bit of them play against Greater Beckley in their sectional final, and they looked good. But oh my gosh, I mean, on the championship game against Greater Beckley, I mean, they left no doubt that they were the best team. I mean, I really like that Savage, Shad Savage.
Shad Savage, yeah.
Shad. He broke his streak of multiple games with multiple three-pointers, but he made up for it on Saturday because he shot the ball really well. I mean, did he miss? He missed one shot in the first half, I think, maybe. I mean, he was on fire.
Yeah.
And then the other guy I was really impressed with for them was Eli Allen, 6'3" guard. Did a little bit of everything. I think he was maybe 1 assist or 1 rebound away from a triple-double in the title game. So I was really impressed with those two. And, they got some pieces back to, make a run at this thing next year. You got him back. You've got the Fox kid back.
Colin Fox.
And I think Burks. Yep, Burks is back too. And then one of the guys they bring off the bench that played in the post for him some, Ridgeway, is back. So that's 4 of their top 6, 7 back for next year. So they got a chance to make a comeback. I know after the game or before the game, the coach had said that he's going to decide what he does as far as where his son goes to college for next year. If he's not too far away, he may try to do it. If he goes a little bit further away to play ball, then he may hang it up so he can go watch his son, which is completely understandable. But the pieces are there for them to make another run at another title. So I was very impressed with them.
Yeah, just got a text from Brian, and he said, "Have a great episode." We tried.
I figured it. When he said he was on Double A Highway, I was like, oh, no, I don't know how that's going to work.
So anyway, but they were awesome.
Yeah. I mean, they just played good defense. I thought offensively, they ran good offense. I mean, I was really impressed with them. And they got after it. And, Greater Beckley just could not do anything.
No.
And I don't necessarily think that they played bad. I feel like they played kind of how they had the other 2 games. I watched them play. It's just that James Monroe was better. And it was quite the performance, I thought.
Yep. Of course, Greater Beckley making it to the championship game. The number 7 seed, they defeated the defending Class Single A champion Hillbillies of Man in that first round. But I thought they played really well.
Yeah.
Of course, we all know the well-documented.
Right. With those players being declared ineligible. And, apparently those kids will be eligible next year. And you put those guys with, I don't know how many of them were underclassmen. I think only one was a senior, and there was 4 of them.
Yeah.
So you have those 3 guys back, and then you have Rose, Judy, and Wilson all back for Greater Beckley. So the pieces are there for them to make another run for next year. So, Greater Beckley should be in the running for things next year as well.
Yep. In that Class Single A, of course, the champion was James Monroe. They defeated Greater Beckley Christian, and they had three guys on the all-tournament team, as I'll read that. Ashton Licklider of Tucker County. It was Colin Fox from James Monroe, and then Kendrick Wilson of Greater Beckley Christian, Xavier Johnson from Huntington St. Joe. I thought he played really well all week.
Yep, a nice player.
Yep. Eli Allen, James Monroe, Trevor Beresford of Cameron, and then Caden Smallwood of Greater Beckley Christian, and Shad Savage of James Monroe. And you talk about Eli Allen. I thought he was one of the best players that this week. There.
I mean, 6'3", real smooth, handles the ball well. I don't know what his plans are for college or who's looking at him or what, but I think I could definitely see him playing on a Division II level.
Yeah.
And now
I think he's just a junior, isn't he?
Correct. Yeah. So he's got all summer to improve and get his name out there and things like that. But yeah, he's a nice player. I did not, again, I'd only seen him play once, but I was so impressed with him after this week.
Yeah, 18 points per game, 11.3 rebounds per game, and 9 assists per game.
Yeah, so, I mean, almost averaged a triple-double for the week. I mean, that's impressive.
Yep. So we move on to Class AA, and what we said in the preview, we said it was Polka's to lose.
Yeah.
And
we were right.
We were right.
I mean, they're a machine.
Yep. They defeated Bluefield in the championship game. Of course, they were led by senior Isaac McNeely, 20 points per game this week for McNeely in 3 games. So,
yeah, Isaac is special. I think Mick Price said it best, and he's the coach of Ravenswood, that he's the best player that he's coached against in 40 years. Isaac is special. I think he's going to go have a great career at Virginia, and I'm glad to see him get a championship before he left. I know last year really bothered him that they lost, and he said as much in some of his quotes in the media. And he's just a great kid, great family. I know that the McNeelys from my time coaching at Polka, and they are great people. You won't find any better people than his parents. And just glad to see him get one. Jackson Toney, who had another good tournament for them. He's a great kid as well.
Yeah.
All the kids on that Polka team, I know quite a bit of them are really good kids. So really happy for them. Happy for my friend Sam Neff, who's an assistant there, who was an assistant of mine at one time. Great guy, and I'm glad to see that program get a win and get a ring.
Yep. And also, I look it down at this Class AA all-tournament team. Another player that had a really good tournament was Bluefield's R.J. Hairston, and he had 17 points a game in three games. So
yeah,
I was impressed with Bluefield. I mean, they played hard.
They did well. I think if they could have shot it a little bit better, they could have made a little bit better game out of it against Polka. The Fuller kid for them, who is just a junior, I don't think that's indicative of his performance, of how good of a player he is. I think he just had a poor shooting night, or I guess day, since they played at noon. But if he hits some of those shots that he probably normally hits, they can make a little bit better game out of it. But yeah, the Hairston kid, I was super impressed with his athleticism. They say he plays defensive end in football, but he's just a sophomore and 6'3", and I think they're going to be a handful to deal with next year in AA, because you got him back and Fuller. Yep. So those two players are really good for them.
So we take a look at the Class AA all-tournament team, and right at the top is Grant Barnhart of St. Mary's, 16.5 points a game. And I already said this, I was really impressed with Grant.
Yeah, he's a nice player.
So, and then Jackson Toney of Polka, 11 points a game for him. Jayon Flack from Bluefield, 12.3 points per game for Flack. And then Corey Bolden of South Harrison. Now, South Harrison came in.
Yep.
I believe one loss on the season. They were defeated in that quarterfinal round.
And they've got the bulk of their team back. I think maybe all 5 starters, or maybe I think 4 of them were juniors and 1 was a senior. So including Bolden. Bolden should be back, and so they should have a really good team next year.
Yep. He scored 24 points in that loss. Then Matthew Cart of Ravenswood, 12 points a game. Waylon Moore, I was impressed with him.
Yeah, he had a good game against St. Mary or South Harrison. Yeah. And then he had a tough task against Bluefield, having to chase down and run up through those screens against Fuller. So he got after it, played hard. He did a good job. Yeah,
he finished with a double-double in 2 games, 12 points a game, 11.5 rebounds, and then R.J. Hairston with Bluefield and Isaac McNeely of Polka rounds out that Class AA all-tournament team. And then Class AAA, this was fun.
Yeah, it was a good group.
Yeah. Of course, it started out with Scott upsetting Logan.
Yep. And that was a great game.
One of the better games of the tournament, in my opinion. And I don't think anybody's going to argue with you on that. No. But Reese Carden come up big at the end. I believe he had 24 points in that game. He made or more. I can't remember. But he got the ball there at the end, and somebody said, it looked like he was going to pass. No, he wasn't passing.
No, and I feel like he kind of had his coming out party. I mean, I don't know if we have like a breakout player of the tournament, but he would be one of the 2 or 3 that would be a candidate, and maybe was. But we coached, I coached the Nitro as an assistant this year, and we played Scott. And, I thought he was a good player, but what he did at the state tournament was just another level that I had not seen out of him at that point. And I saw he picked up a couple offers from Rio Grande and Washington Jefferson after his performance this week, and I think those are the first of more to come. He's just a junior, and man, he had a great week, and he took his game to the next level. And sometimes that's what you got to do when you get to the state tournament and your back's against the wall, and it's win or go home, and players rise up, and he definitely did that.
Yep. Where Scott moved on, they had to play Fairmont Senior in that semifinal, and I thought they played Fairmont Senior pretty tough for most part of the game.
Yeah, Scott's got a bunch of guys all basically about the same size.
5 guards out there.
5'11" to 6'1" is basically what they're dealing with. And, Fairmont's got 6'4", 6'6", 6'7", and, the 6'7" probably weighs 300 pounds.
Yeah.
So some big boys, and they did a great job of really not letting the height affect them too much. I mean, I know the Deshaun Good ended up, I think, with like maybe 17 rebounds, but they did a good job, or as good as a job as they could have, and the game was competitive. I forget what the final score ended up being, but they did a good job. They competed, they played hard, and that's all you could really ask for. But Fairmont just proved to be a little bit too much for them.
Yep, and of course, on the other side of that bracket, Shady Spring, wow.
Yeah, they're good.
They were efficient.
Mm-hmm.
In that first ball game in the quarterfinal, they were 26 assists on 30 made baskets.
Whew. Gosh.
Is that a coach's dream?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you get that many.
And 22 of those points were fast break points.
Mm-hmm. So passing ahead to the open guy and just being unselfish. And they put on a clinic that game. I think they had 24 steals, forced 29 turnovers. So, I mean, it was just, when you get 24 steals, that's 24 live ball turnovers, which are going to lead to a lot of points. And, they got after it that game.
Yes, they did. And then Grafton had a player, Ryan Mayer.
Yep, I was really impressed with him.
Yeah.
I thought he did a good job. I was impressed with that team. They were good.
Yeah.
They had him, and then they had some other guys that are all about 6'2", 6'3", that played hard, really got after it, did their job, and that game with Wheeling Central was a pretty good game.
Yeah, and even North Marion, I was impressed. They've got some young guys.
Mm-hmm. I know they were missing
2 or 3
guy.
sophomores.
Yeah,
but they were missing 2 of their best players.
Yeah, I know the Miller kid for sure.
Yeah.
But they were suspended. I didn't know what happened. So okay, that probably made sense. I don't know if that would have made a difference in them winning the game or not, but that I'm sure that definitely played a role into a lot of those turnovers happening without having 2 of their better players.
Of course, and then Herbert Hoover up there, Dane Hatfield had 20 points in that loss.
Man, he had a good game.
Yeah.
I mean, I think at one point he had all 15 of Hoover's. He scored 15 in the first 15 points for Hoover.
Yeah.
And as a freshman against Fairmont Senior, with that storied program and with the players they have, and he was not afraid at all, not one bit, and as a freshman, so did well.
Of course, Shady Spring and Fairmont Senior, and that lived up to the billing.
Oh my gosh,
game.
What a great game!
Yep.
I'm saying Shady Springs praises on here last time and today, but Fairmont, they did not let that pressure affect them for the most part, and they took it right at them, and they did a good job of using their height. And Shady Spring likes to switch a lot, and so they took advantage of some mismatches and things like that, and that finish. I don't know if you can get better than the finish of that
the
game.
back and forth.
Yeah, I mean, Shady Spring hits the go-ahead layup with, I think, 8 seconds left.
Yeah.
Fairmont gets the ball in real quick. They don't waste any time. They get the ball up the floor real quick, and Dobbs gets a layup or mid-range, like a little floater as time expires. And I mean, it was just an awesome finish.
Of course, here's the talk in the stands right after that game. Why didn't they call timeout? Maybe set up some type of defense and kind of force them
talking about Shady calling timeout.
Yeah, and then then that forces them to try to inbound it, kind of force the issue of make it hard for an inbound, and then they've got to get it up the court.
Yeah, I can see that.
It also allows Dave Retton to draw up a play.
Yeah, get his guys organized and come up with something.
So there's pros and cons, I guess, to it.
To each your own. I probably wouldn't have called a timeout there. I probably would have played it just like Coach Olson did. You just got to trust your defense, which is something that Shady Spring has really relied on. And I thought for the most part they did a good job in their conversion defense, transition defense there.
And they've been good in it all year.
Again, that's what they hang their hat on.
Yeah.
And Dobbs just made a play and made a shot. So
Yes.
I think I'm going to side with Coach Olson on this one.
Well, yeah. But, yeah, sometimes as good as you play, the other guy, sometimes he just makes a better play.
Yep.
But that's what Zacchaeus Dobbs did, took it right up a little bit, 15-foot floater. And I watched the replay again this morning. That thing just catches the front part of the rim and then drops in.
It was a great shot.
I mean, that ball could have went anywhere.
Right.
And it just went right into the basket. And then time ran out, and Fairmont Senior claims the Class AAA championship over Shady Spring. So we take a look at the Class AAA all-tournament team. And, of course, Reese Carden, we already talked about him, 18 points a game. Ryan Riesbeck, the senior, I've always been impressed with him.
Yeah, he's got a great game. I mean, he can take the ball to the basket. He can score mid-range. He can shoot the three. And just a solid player. I never really saw him get too rattled or anything like that. He had a great career there for Wheeling Central. 16
points a game in 2 games for Riesbeck. Cole Chapman of Shady Springs, 13 points a game for him. And then Ryan Mayer of Grafton, 21 points in that loss in the quarterfinal. And then the big man for Fairmont Senior, Eric Smith. Man, what a load.
Yeah, sir. It moves well.
Somebody said he was going to Akron to play? Or
I cannot remember. It's a MAC school.
Toledo?
It's a MAC school in Ohio.
Okay. Yeah, pick one. But 8.7 points a game, 9.7 rebounds a game for Eric Smith. Then Zacchaeus Dobbs, 15.7 points a game, 5.7 rebounds. Deshaun Good, who also played really well for Fairmont Senior. He's the 6'6" kid.
Yeah, and a nice player. And, I didn't really remember him much from last year, but, if he adds a more consistent outside shot, I mean, he's got a chance to play, some high-level college basketball. Yep. I'm not saying, Power 5 or anything like that, but, he could play some Division I basketball.
Yep. Double-double for him for the tournament, 20.7 points a game, 12.3 rebounds a game. And then rounding out the all-tournament team in Class AAA was Dane Hatfield of Herbert Hoover, 20 points in that quarterfinal loss for Mr. Hatfield. And now we go to Class 4A, which Morgantown, we talked about them and how good they were, and they did not disappoint.
No.
Especially in that first game, they came out and just lit up, Musselman, and it was kind of unfair.
Yeah, Musselman was definitely outmatched, and sometimes you're just going to have that. And Morgantown is, well coached. They got lots of players. I think Coach Basile at Musselman does a good job, and just sometimes teams are better, and I think that's just one of these situations.
Yep, and then you've got Jefferson that came in undefeated in the quarterfinal. They kind of looked like they were going to run away with it early.
Yeah.
Cabell Midland couldn't make shots, couldn't really do anything, couldn't defend, and then all of a sudden something clicked, and then Dominic Schmidt started making everything.
Yeah.
He finished with 29 points.
He went off.
Yeah. And, Cabell Midland made it a game, but there at the end, it was Jefferson getting the 1-point win, which that was because of a last-second shot there right before a three that went in for
and I think they tried to get a timeout, but there's no time left.
But so Jefferson moves on. On the other side, you had a rivalry game in George Washington and South Charleston, and I thought that was a great game.
Yeah, it was a good game. Dwayne Harris had a great game. Bryson Smith had a really good game.
Yeah.
I really like him. I think he's a nice player. He's about 6'5", athletic, can step out and shoot it. He's got a nice game for GW. The Castleberry kid, I don't think he missed a shot, did he?
I don't think so.
I think he was 7 for 7 from the field.
Yeah, 4-4 from behind the arc.
Yeah, I mean he shot the ball really well.
He was the one that kept him in that game.
Yeah. I sat behind the bench of GW's bench, talking about father-in-law, who was one of the he helped with the directors running the tournament and sitting there talking to him, so I was able to see into some of the Coach Green's timeouts, and he even made this comment in the paper after the game that he was not happy with their shot selection, and he was really harping on those guys to get better shots and things like that. So, I think that kind of did them in a little bit. And, of course, South Charleston had something to do with that. They played good defense.
Big, athletic.
And get after it. And Coach Daniel does a great job. And he's got great assistants. Cliff Jackson, shout out to Cliff Jackson. He was an assistant of mine, a great guy. Hey, I tell you what, if you've not ever seen a scouting report done by Cliff Jackson, there is not a better scouting report than what he can put together. And Cliff knows basketball. So, but yeah, they do a great job. And I was glad to see, I'm friends with Coach Green as well, but I was glad to see, South Charleston get there, get a win. I know Josh and those assistants, like I said, and was happy for them. I would have been happy either way, but they hadn't been there for a while, and it's just nice for them to get over that hump, and hopefully he can keep things rolling there at South Charleston.
Yeah, I think that is important to get there and get a win under your belt, and then play a competitive game the next one. Of course, they got into some foul trouble against Morgantown.
Sure. Mm-hmm.
And that was tied at 25 apiece in that semifinal game, and then those fouls took a toll on.
Yeah, I think Harris picked up a third.
And Dean picked up a third.
Yeah.
So, Morgantown defeated the South Charleston in that semifinal. And then Parkersburg South, I thought they were impressive all week long. Cyrus Traw, one of the best performances I saw all week long in that semifinal game. He had 30 points.
It was 17 and 19 from the line.
From the line, yeah.
They Jefferson could not guard him. I mean, he just kept getting to the line, and man, he's a nice player.
He is.
People say he's better sports football. I'm like, well, he must be a heck of a football player then, because he's a darn good basketball player.
I had heard he didn't play basketball until maybe the 8th grade. He was actually wrestling.
Wow. Well,
so
it's crazy because he is a good basketball player.
He is, yes. He and the senior, of course, Trawl's a junior, so he'll be back.
Yep.
But Ashton Mooney, he is so smooth.
Yeah.
Little left-hander.
Mm-hmm. We played Parkersburg South last year in the first round of sectionals when I was coaching with Brian at St. Albans. And from that game last year to this point now, he has improved so much. And, that doesn't happen just by chance. I mean, you can tell that kid's worked. He's really made his jump shot more consistent. He had a huge three in that championship game against Morgantown. So it's always nice to see a kid that's put in the worked really hard, and made himself a better player. And he was a heck of a player and had a good week.
Yep. So, and then in the championship game, another one here that did not disappoint, Parkersburg South and Morgantown. And again, Morgantown jumped out. I thought they were going to run away with it.
Yeah, looked like it.
And, South and head coach Mike Fallon somehow battled their way back in and had a shot there.
Yeah, I think they had it maybe to 15 in the third quarter at one point, maybe 12 or 15, something like that. And Parkersburg did not quit. They kept after it, and their press really wore Morgantown down. And typically, Morgantown wears people down, not necessarily by press, but just running you through screens and all kinds of different sets on offense, and just making you grind out possessions when you're on offense. And man, that was a good game, and it just shows you you can't quit. You got to keep working. And Parkersburg South did that. They got after it, and they got turnovers when they needed them, and they just came up a little bit short as well there at the end of that game.
Yep. And for Parkersburg, they had some really nice players, 2 seniors, and that's what Coach Tallman, when we were asking him about his team, he started with these 2 guys. That's Alec Poland and Brooks Gage. And Alec Poland, just a stocky guy.
Yeah, it looks like he stepped off the YMCA court and walked in the Civic Center. But
he likes to get down that low post and just kind of root around in there and kind of get defenders up in the air. I mean, crafty veterans is what we call him.
He'll step out and he can shoot the 3. He's got that old man game, we like to call it. But he's a nice player.
He is.
I think he could play some D3 ball or something like that. Maybe more. I don't know, but it's a nice player. Yep. And he had a good week. Yeah.
Yep. 11 points a game for Alec Poland, and then Brooks Gage, just an all-around good game from him. I was impressed with him as well.
Yeah, long, lanky. When Sharon Young goes out of the game, he handles the ball for him. So, like you said, does a little bit of everything. He's good defensively, rebounds well, shoots the ball decently. I kind of feel like, Coach Tomlin probably relies on when he needs something done, he's probably going to turn to Brooks Gage to do it for him. Because he, like you said, can do a little bit of everything.
Yep. So look at the Class 4A all-tournament team. Is Jamari Jenkins, the freshman at Jefferson, 19 points a game.
I was impressed with him.
Assists per game. Yeah, he was really good. Quick.
Yeah.
And I mean, you look at this Class 4A at the number of young point guards that we got to see up there. Jamari Jenkins at Jefferson, a freshman. Wayne Harris at South Charleston, a sophomore. Sharon Young, a sophomore at Morgantown. Of course, Cyrus Trawl coming back. He's a junior. But, man.
Yeah, and Dominic Schmidt, he's a junior as well. He'll be back. So, I mean, some good mix of young players and some seniors, too.
Yep. So, Wayne Harris from South Charleston, 21 points a game, 4.5 assists per game for the sophomore. Cyrus Trawl, Parkersburg South, 17.7 points a game and almost 7.5 rebounds a contest. Alec Poland was on the list. We talked about Dominic Schmidt of Cabell Midland, 29 points in that loss to Jefferson. And then Brooks Gage of Morgantown, 14.3 points a game, 5.3 rebounds a game, and 3.3 steals per game. So very impressive tournament for Brooks Gage. And then Ashton Mooney, we talked about him, the senior for Parkersburg South, 20 points a game, 7 rebounds a game. And then our main man, Sharon Young.
Yeah.
Of Morgantown. He's in the studio. Well, at least his big head is in the studio. As you
He's
can,
joined us today.
Yeah, right above your head
Yeah,
is Sharon. So it's good that he joined us. You got to have a state champion.
That's right.
Now I've got 2 of them in here. You were a state champ coach.
As an assistant,
As an
Poca,
assistant
2015.
Poca. And now we've got Morgantown's Sharon Young, the state champ, here in the studio. 15.3 points a game, 4 assists per game. You got anything to say about that, Sharon? Okay.
I like his game.
Let's his game do all the talking.
Yeah, I'll talk for him.
Yeah, go ahead.
He's got a nice game. He
does.
handles the ball well, sets the table for Morgantown, gets them into their stuff. Good defensively. I like, as a sophomore, he's got a chance to be pretty good.
Yep. So the reason why Sharon is in the studio is right after the game, Morgantown won. And Phil C. and I are just standing there about 3 rows up behind press row, down on the Morgan side end. And then all of a sudden, this cardboard big head comes flying at us. And I don't know if it hit Phil or not, but it was laying at his feet. And I thought it was the Chick-fil-A cardboard cutout that they were holding.
Yeah.
I thought somebody had grabbed that and slung it.
Huh.
No, it was Sharon's head.
Was it thrown up in celebration, I guess?
Yeah. So one of the students in the student section just flung it up in the air, and it landed over by us. I said, grab it. I'll put it on the set of the podcast. So that's why he's here. But we're happy to have him. And what a great tournament for he and his teammates. And congratulations to Morgantown High School for the Class 4A title. That's the first title they had since 2016.
Yep, they went undefeated that year, I believe.
Defeated Huntington in the championship game that year. So they back in the title seat for Morgantown, and congratulations all 4 state titles.
Yep. Great week.
James Monroe in Class Single A, and Class AA was Poca. And in Class AAA, Fairmont Senior, and Class 4A. I can't say Quad A. I don't know.
Yeah.
I guess I can.
Either way.
Yeah, but I'm still trying to get used to that. But Morgantown in Class 4A. But it was a great tournament.
Yep.
I mean, I really had fun.
Yeah.
I'm tired.
Yeah, I would like to take the chance just to thank my wife for letting me go up for 3 days in a row and spend all day up at the Civic Center watching basketball while she's at home in the trenches with 2 kids 5 and under. And
she's the real
I appreciate
MVP.
you. Yeah, she'll listen to this. Brittany, I love you. Thank you for letting me do that. I appreciate you so much.
You're setting the groundwork for next year.
Well, I kind of broke tradition last time. I know you're supposed to talk about your wife whenever you come on here. You know, Smee made sure he mentioned his.
Yeah,
and
Brian
forgot to
screwed
mention
up
Laura
the first
time.
one, yeah.
I screwed up. So I just want to make sure I get her in here and work her in here as I mentioned, and thank her for letting me go up to the tournament for 3 days.
Yep. Wives are always great.
Oh, yeah.
When they let you do stuff like that.
For sure.
Overall, could you name 4 players as an all-tournament team?
Ooh.
Oh, and,
Well,
all classes.
Yeah, Isaac McNeely.
Okay.
You want to pick one from each class? Or
Yeah, let's do that.
Okay.
That'll make it easier.
Isaac McNeely for sure from AA.
Mm-hmm.
Single A, I'm going to have to go with Eli Allen from James Monroe. I mean, lead your team to a state championship, averaged, almost a triple-double. I think that's got to put you up there. For the AAA, that's tough. I mean, you've got Deshaun Good, who had a really good tournament. Braden Chapman from Shady had a great tournament. Reese Carden had a great tournament. Man, I think I'm going to go with Braden Chapman. Even though they lost, I was really impressed with him. I thought he played really well. Dobbs was another good one. So Dobbs and Deshaun kind of cancel each other out a little bit for me. So I'm going to go with Braden. And then for 4A, I think I'm going to end up going with Trawl from Parkersburg South. The Morgantown players are young, and Poland and Gage kind of cancel each other out a little bit. I think each one of them are very good players. But I thought Trawl, led his team to state runner-up and had a really, good week. So I think I'm going to go with those 4 if I had to pick. What about you?
Well, I wrote mine down, and I went with Eli Allen in single A, and then McNeely was an easy choice.
Sure.
Then I went with Braden Chapman in AAA and Cyrus Trawl.
Oh, wow. No way.
In 4A.
Great minds think alike.
There was, and kind of along the same lines, but man, Trawl just really, and I knew how good he was, but he really proved it there in the state tournament on that big stage. And I thought, his teammate Ashton Mooney played well too.
Yes, absolutely.
I thought he really stepped up, and he and Eli Allen had the 2 best performances, single game best performances that I saw all week. Trawl in that semifinal with 30 points, and then also in the semifinal for Eli Allen. He came I think it was in a semifinal. I could be wrong. There were so many games I did. But it's either quarterfinal or semifinal. I cannot remember now. But he came 1 assist was shy of a triple-double. And here it was. He's coming down. They get a breakaway, and there was 3 of them. And all he had to do was just lay it off, and he would have had the assist. Of course, he's not thinking like that.
Right.
He probably doesn't know the stats in his head, which he shouldn't.
Right.
But he might. But he instead tried to dunk it, and he got it in. But
nice.
I was over going, oh, man.
Triple-double,
Triple-double. And he and Trawl had the 2 best performances, I thought, in the state tournament.
17-19 from the line. I mean, that's just you're basically they can't guard you, and they're having to foul you. And I like his game, and I still can't believe he wrestled till he was in 8th grade and then
That's what I
decided to play
heard.
basketball. That is crazy. So to be as good as he is and skilled, it's not like he's just an athlete out there running around. And, I mean, he's a skilled player. So
That's what
impressive.
wrestling does to you.
Hey, apparently.
I'm a big advocate of the sport.
They say wrestling makes for great football players.
It does. I say that a lot.
Get you good technique and
Balance.
getting low, getting leverage
Leverage,
and things like that. My dad was a big wrestler.
And hand strength.
Yeah.
So
Dad was really into wrestling. He tried to get me into it, and I've just gravitated more towards basketball. So anyway,
it's a man sport. No, but basketball's a contact sport.
Yeah, sure.
Football's a collision sport.
Wrestling is a very tough sport.
It is.
Yeah.
Yep. So that'll do it. We'll wrap it up here inside the Generations Physical Therapy Studio. Again, I want to thank my good buddy, Derek Ragle, Mr. Rugs.
Thanks for having me again. I appreciate it.
It's always fun when we can talk sports, especially basketball for you.
Absolutely.
But it's baseball season now, buddy.
Yeah.
See,
I love baseball season. You go out.
I got my
sit
baseball
up.
jersey.
There you go.
You know,
For UC?
Yeah, Charleston
You're doing
baseball.
their games again this year?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. That's awesome. I love going out and just sitting outside and watching some baseball or even softball. Got my daughter in T-ball this year, so be out watching that. And where I'm the AD at Hurricane Middle, I got to go cover baseball and softball games.
Yep.
So enjoy being out in the nice weather and watching some sports.
Yep, and we've got some nice weather here today, and well, at least here in the Canal Valley. A little rain this morning, but nice now. So, yep, I'm excited for baseball season now. So, anyway, we'll wrap it up. Again, we want to thank everybody for tuning in. You can listen to us on Spotify, Apple, and Google Podcasts. As well, you can watch us on the Video Productions YouTube page. So that'll do it. Until next time, I'm Jack Withrow. This is the Biscuits, Brews, and Ball podcast.